This topic will be discussed in 4 videos. This is video 1 of 4.
You've heard of the dark night of the soul. You know you're in it, but you're wondering, why is it lasting so long? What I'm going to talk about today are certain things that are contributing to the reason why it's lasting so long. Hi there, beautiful souls. I'm Michèle Duquet. Welcome to my channel, Soulful and Unplugged, a channel about the spiritual awakening journey where I show you how to live a more joyful life by helping you navigate your human journey through your soul's perspective. And this is Roxy. Hopefully she'll stick around for the video, but she may not. So before we get going, I just want to tell you that this is part of a spiritual awakening series I created, and the playlist for that I will link right up here as well as in the descriptions below. So check out the chapters down there and click on any one of them and it'll take you right to the topic that you're most interested in. It's a self-loving thing to ask for help, and sometimes we do need outside help. The dark night of the soul can be extremely debilitating, and I would encourage you to seek help. And for those of you who aren't quite sure what a dark night of the soul is, it's a time of profound transition in your life where you start to become aware of parts of yourself that are no longer serving you. It's a time of deep transformation where you begin to honor who you are by opening up to your connection to your soul. I have gone through my own dark night of the soul, and I know what I had to go through to get myself to the other side. And I did seek help. I found a beautiful, loving therapist, and I did Gestalt therapy for a couple of years, and it was immensely helpful to carry me through to the rest of my dark night journey. What I want to talk about today is something that's been coming up quite a bit in the comments. And I think it's because a lot of people are having a really hard time during this period of transition globally, and through the chaos and all of the mixed energies that are really bombarding us daily. It's a pretty tough road that we're on. And what is happening is a lot of people are still in the dark night of the soul. They're wondering, why is it lasting so long? Why is it so difficult, so painful? And while, yes, that is the dark night of the soul, what I'm going to talk about today are certain things that are contributing to the reason why it's lasting so long. Okay, so the first thing that's going on during the dark night of the soul is something called ego. That sounds pretty awful. No wonder Roxy left. She goes, oh, she's going to talk about ego death. Let's not hang out for that. Okay, all joking aside, ego death is really torturous because we're born, we develop an identity, we are programmed, we have all this programming from our families and friends and just our environment, and everything that we go through in the first 3-4 years of our life really forms us in a deep, profound way. And our ego gets attached to that. Our ego says, this is who we are. This is who I am. I am this. And then through the dark night of the soul, the reason you go through the dark night of the soul is because you are awakening to your higher self, to your spirit self, to this self that is at the soul level on another dimension, at the energetic dimension, at the spiritual dimension. And that is in direct conflict with this very pedantic, dense, earthly energy. And your ego will fight and fight and fight to not allow you to expand, because for the precise reason that this will cause your ego to, now I put that in quotation mark because the ego doesn't. The ego is still here because you will still, want to survive on this earth. You're still in a 3-dimensional reality, even though you're moving into a 5th dimension and beyond. Your consciousness is expanding wider and wider through this awakening. You're still in a 3-dimensional reality where, for example, your instincts of fight or flight have to kick in. You can't sit there and not react when your life is in danger or when you need to act fast. There's, that's still the ego. The ego is there to help you survive this three-dimensional reality. However, the ego starts to become a little bit more like an enemy when it is fighting your expansion. It's fighting you discovering who you really are at the spiritual level, at the soul level. And if we get too locked into our old identity, because it was comfortable, because parts of it was really good, parts of it was really fun, you know, if you're the party girl, or I don't know, you liked owning certain things, and you liked going shopping or being more of a consumer, all these things will go by the wayside as your consciousness expands, because you will cease to have the desire for them in order to have a desire for something that is more fulfilling for you, deeply fulfilling at the soul level. However, the ego will fight that, because there's a moment where you do feel lost, like you're letting go of the old identity and you're not quite sure who the new identity is. And that time of feeling lost, the ego is resisting. And so when our dark night of the soul, it feels like it's lasting a long time, it is because at a certain level, we are having a hard time with this ego. It's about really diving into which part of you is still resisting that change in identity, that lack of need for that specific ego in order to form a new type of ego. Not a spiritual ego where, oh, I'm so spiritual, I'm like all that. No, that's not what I'm talking about. That exists, and you'll recognize that pretty instinctively when you're with someone who thinks they're, you know, enlightened and super spiritual. You'll feel there's a certain, I don't know, like they are a little condescending in a way. And I think that instinctively we all know when we're not being spoken to with respect. But this resistance to letting go of the ego has to do with embracing that it's a beautiful thing when you feel lost. I know. That doesn't sound very good, but it is. Understanding at a deep level that when you're starting to feel lost, and you feel lost for a long time, then it is a bridge towards a new you. And the more you fight that, the longer it's going to last. Embracing it, loving it, understanding that it is a beautiful part of your journey, just as beautiful as any other part. The bliss is no more beautiful than the dark night of the soul. It's all one journey towards your expansion, your own widening of your consciousness. And in the end, it will make being in this three-dimensional reality so much easier and so much more beautiful.
This was the first video in a series of 4. Here's a preview of the next video.
The second thing that's going on during the dark night of the soul is that we're facing our own darkness. And one of the things that can happen is that we end up getting sucked by it. It's kind of like a black hole. The energies are revealing in a way that is quite shocking sometimes. We see our own character defects. We see our own flaws and our own 3D programming. And it can be so jarring.